Good morning, everybody. It's Coffee and Politics 101 with Sydney Walker. For the holidays, 2023 has been an interesting year, but we are back. We are here today discussing the South Dallas Fair Park PID that was put in place during Councilwoman Tiffany Young's tenure at the Horseshoe. And today I am joined by such an awesome person that I have met that actually lives in my precinct, Hank Lawson, who is the retired executive director of South Fair Community Development Corporation. And for those of y'all who may not know where that's located, they're in the little strip center on MLK at Atlanta, and MLK, if you're familiar with it, also a landmark that's nearby is the Bedford law firm that used to be there, and the infamous car wash that all of the South Dallas residents used to participate in on Sundays, cruising around like we used to do. And I'm gonna date myself here because I remember Bachman Lake back in the 90s where you would go and max. So good morning, Hank, and thank you for coming on the show to discuss this topic.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, so just to kind of catch everybody up. So I've done a show on public improvement districts, and these are set up by the city with certain borders that either property owners, this one in particular was for the business community surrounding South Dallas, inside South Dallas, the Fair Park area, to provide more improvements for the area. So if you have come down MLK, you may have seen some of the improvements, new benches, picturesque items of Malcolm X and MLK. There is street signage on the ground at MLK and what was formerly known as Oakland Avenue, Malcolm X Boulevard, with Black Lives Matter. And so for those who may not know a lot about the PID, this was to help, improve safety and also, make this area more enticing for customers to come, but also to improve the overall image of South Dallas Fair Park and bring more business and commerce. So Hank was one of the business owners in the area that was approached about the PID and participating in that. So Hank, just kind of give us some background on how you guys were approached with participating in the PID.
Well, I was originally on the WINS committee, with working in neighborhoods strategically, an initiative that the city sponsored to come up with a plan of action for South Dallas. And one of the things that they were contemplating was reviving or expanding the tax increment financing district. Ken Smith was the staff person for that. When he stepped down, two young African Americans, Rodrigo Ross and Mark, were left in charge. And I had so much respect for the two of them. And under their tenure, they started to talk about this PID, and they were having trouble getting enough signatures and support for the PID.
Okay.
And I got involved to talk to my friends, hey, give them some help, because we did need more focus on security and public perception, image.
Right.
And yeah, so I got involved and helped them get more people. But what never happened from the very beginning, we never knew just how much valuation was needed to give us the kind of budget to be an effective PID.
Okay.
What we focused on was just getting enough signatures to create a PID, however big, however small. Okay. And out of that initial one, the administrator, hip hop government, was changed, for reasons, for cause. And the new administrator came in, and for the last 3 or 4 years, they've been very busy and doing things. But from the very beginning to present, where all the valuation was on that end close to Cullen, we weren't seeing any results of the PID.
Okay.
But we were the ones contributing most of the taxation. Yes.
Right.
And then in 2021, I just happened to be at a meeting where the PID came up for discussion, and Councilman Bazadua was present in April of 21. And it was the business owners were so outspoken about the failure of the PID.
Okay.
That Councilman Bazadua said that he would have the PID administrator come to the next meeting and work with us.
Okay.
And that was April of 21.
Wow.
And
so I do want to interrupt you 1 second. So I do want people to understand that the PID was established in 2016.
Yeah.
So here we're talking about a 5-year period that you guys have been contributing to this PID financially. And I do want people to know that I did put the link from the City of Dallas website.
Yeah.
On the PID. So there are 630 properties
Yeah.
inside of this PID that include commercial and residential properties. And so that additional funding that's coming as a result of this PID has been collected, all this time, because now we're in 2023. Yeah. And you guys start having discussions with the administrator in 2021.
Yes. And she then in August of 2022, a year later now, the city was voting to authorize the PIDs to submit their plan of action for the coming year. And I saw that, and I went to the city council and spoke and said, we feel like we're being taxed in no services.
Right.
And I said that Councilman Bazadua, you were at a meeting over a year ago, and you said you would have the PID rep come, and they have yet to show up, a year and a half later almost. Wow. And so he pulled it. All the other PIDs were approved, but ours was pulled for 30 days to look at this.
Okay.
And then a couple of weeks later, Shannon Brown, the administrator for the PID, finally showed up at our meeting, and it was ugly because all that frustration from the business people that been paying all this and not seeing anything,
right?
And all of a sudden they're talking about expanding it too. See, and that just set us all off, and we began to say, look, we've had enough of this, and so we began. We began to talk about stopping the renewal of the PID. And the problem with that was when I talked to all the folks in the neighborhood leaders about the PID people coming before them to talk about the changes and what they wanted.
Right.
They had never done that. None of them from Eva, from Queen City to Park Road, South Boulevard, the business people, none of them had a one-on-one with the PID administrator to tell them what's coming down the pike. And so, and here it is in August of 22, and they're getting ready to go out for an expansion and a renewal, and no one had heard anything about it.
Whoa.
Yes. So.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna go out here and say this, because when you go to the city's website, you also see other active PIDs. So there's one, North Lake Highlands PID, Oaklawn Highline PID, Prestonwood, Southside, University Crossing, Uptown, Midtown Improvement District. And so I am going to say this to say this. These are PIDs that are north of I-30. And I could not imagine business owners, residential owners. Let's say I'm an apartment dweller and my rent is going up in order to help fund these, activities for safety, sidewalk improvement, traffic control, all of those things. And we see nothing. No one comes and has a town hall, sends us any mailers, anything, because I will tell you, Karen and Karen's husband and Karen's neighbors will all be there stomping on the ground saying, oh, no, we're gonna Boston Tea Party, y'all pull this bull crap. Yeah. So you're gonna tell us how much money is there, where the money is going. But most importantly, we residents north of I-30 will see the fruits of our labor that's been paid into a PID in the PID area. And so, introducing this topic here, I, mentioned Black Lives Matter, borders on the street and some marquees with Malcolm X and, MLK, which is all lovely, not to diminish anything. But if I was paying into this, I need some receipts. Show me where this money has been going.
Here's the interesting thing, that when we approached the business community at the very beginning to support it, yes, one of the big issues, one of the big selling points was increased security.
Okay.
Okay, and that never happened. But here's what really made me mad, not only with the PID administrator, but with the council member, with Councilman Bazadul, was that our neighborhood has seen some of the largest increase in property valuation. All right. And
we are being gentrified. Yes, sir.
Yes. And so that meant that our taxes are going to go up regardless. All right.
Right.
Then on top of that, they wanted to, on the PID side, that valuation meant that we were going to pay more PID taxes, that increase. But here's what the issue was. Of the 13 PIDs, 10 of them, the exemption for seniors was automatic.
Okay.
All right. 3, it was not. And ours is one of those that was not. And the problem with that is between 20 and 2022, my property taxes, my property valuation increased by 60-something%. Not no 10% or 5%, 64% increase. So you saw the hefty increase in my taxes. All right. But here was the problem I had with that. I was a senior citizen. I am a senior citizen. And I just thought the exemption was automatic with all the other taxes. It was not. No. And my highest.
You have to file it. You have to file the homestead.
Yeah. See, the homestead was there for all the other taxing entities, and for DISD, my valuation was 190,000, something like that on my house, but the tax was 700. Okay. But for the PID, my valuation was in excess of 400,000, and my tax was over $600. And see, that's what. Then when I went to.
So we got funny math happening.
And so when I went into the neighborhood and started talking to people about the PID, there were seniors that didn't even know they were paying a PID tax, and then to find out that they were paying it at the full valuation, for no services. See, I mean.
Okay, so, dear Al Green, love him to death, also in my precinct, has, pulled key members of the community to discuss this PID, which is why we're having this show and this discussion about it, because I was brought in, and growing up in South Dallas, I remember, when EBJ became Congresswoman. I remember when JWP was first elected into office, Senator West. I remember all of these guys. I remember Diane Ragsdale being the councilwoman here. I remember Carolyn Davis. I remember, all of these things that started happening. And when I was on Inside Texas Politics, I stated an opinion with talking about the gentrification of South Dallas and how you just mysteriously just start having all of these fires in South Dallas, and then having properties, the structure demolished, and then the lots going up on the county auction for pennies. Like, you could get lots over here in South Dallas as little as $250. Not the case today. You barely get a lot for $50,000, and that's not even a good lot. So one house on Park Road in particular, Edgewood side, I remember when it caught on fire and having a sinking feeling about this. And so getting more engaged in, how the city works, paying attention to bond elections, and learning that, property taxes go up, pay for the bond, pay for, items on the bond. And District 7, South Dallas has had plenty of items, on the bond election with alleys in your neighborhood. Been on there for over 20 years, alleys in your neighborhood. And now all of a sudden, since we have properties selling in excess of over $350,000, now we see some little alleys over by Peabody and better lighting and all of these things. And it's just like, okay, the topless house, the gay couple has moved in. I have watched the transition happen with Blacks moving out, Latinos moving in, now the gays are moving in, because that is supposedly how gentrification works. And so now I'm starting to see more people that operate in the space of walking their little purse dogs in the neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go, because Charles Rice getting ready to change. It's not going to be Charles Rice. Like, we knew it. And it's to know the history of South Dallas and to see the blight that has occurred from the 90s to now, and know that we've paid money for services, for bond projects, and to know that that money will get earmarked and moved to another district for the same type of project, yet our taxes continue to go up. And nobody sits here and has any outrage about this and talk about this, because we're being fleeced for our money, pushed out of our properties. Black folks stop giving up Mima's house and Auntie's house and Big Daddy's house, all that kind of stuff, because you don't want to be over here anymore. Stop. Real estate as well. And to hear, what's going on with this PID, and seeing the car wash being closed and fenced and still in litigation, and that man still can't operate. And just because we, know what MLK is going to become, like Davis or Jefferson over in the Bishop Arts. It will be unrecognizable in the next 15 years. It will look like that. And everybody who has been here is going to be struggling to stay here, because as you saw with your property evaluation, and paying the full price to get hidden money out of you, screams crimes against neighbors in this area.
Well, the PID, the crisis or the situation we have with the PIDs is systematic of all the other issues we face in South Dallas. Fair Park and Fair Park First, what you see is a wonderful effort to rejuvenate Fair Park and make it all these things. What you don't see is the integration of the neighborhood into that effort. Outside of that
Yes.
park they're building, very little is done to impact the growth and renewal of the surrounding neighborhoods, Second Avenue, Martin Luther King. I mean, that's why we were really upset with this PID, because the property between Cullen and Trunk is very valuable. It's right across the street from Fair Park.
Right.
But the restrictions on what we can do and not do through zoning lessens the value of that property. But yet, when you go across the street over there by Exposition and Perry,
Yes.
right across the street, the zoning allows them to do all these things that make it attractive to develop. And but here is the kicker. If you go from Pennsylvania all the way to I-30 between Cullen and Trump,
Mhm.
over 75% of that land is owned by Blacks.
Wow.
Yeah. See, and yet you don't see the city busting their butt to help them develop their property or be
Yeah.
landowners. If anything, they've allowed all this crime and people on the street, homeless stuff. That was done intentionally to suppress the value of it and not invest in it. And now all of a sudden, when you see the city doing these things, it's not to reinvigorate the existing business, it's to get them out of there so bigger and better things can come in their opinion. And that's, again, when I speak about our business owners, see, that's what they were upset about, that they've been there and they've done well. They're all millionaires just about, okay, but they've had to do it in that negative environment all this time. And the poster child that I say to anybody is go stand at the intersection of Medill and Trezevant. That's right behind the DART station, all right? When you get off the DART and go to Fair Park, it's lighter streets, it's parking, it's all that stuff.
Mhm.
When you get off the DART and come into the neighborhood, it's no lights, it's no sidewalks, it's when it rains, there's no storm drainage, so it floods, see? And that's been there all this time.
Yes.
And yeah, so, and the bond issues, I'm saying, you have to be crazy to ask us to endorse an increase in pay,
Yes. Yes.
all that stuff, when all this stuff is gone unchecked and you know it. And I had to tell Basador that, look, man, go stand over there. You can't talk to me about racial equity when the inequity has been the norm for us my whole time here in Dallas.
Right. Right. And I can definitely say, growing up here, I remember my grandmother telling me how she wasn't comfortable, me just being out and being a kid, because times were different compared to when my aunts and uncle were growing up. She didn't have to worry about that.
Yes.
So to see, the zenith, I will say the zenith of South Dallas was, the 80s, and then it started declining from there. Arthur Fleming, COINTELPRO, Dark Alliance, crack cocaine, the government doing all of this, and watching the demise of South Dallas, and similar neighborhoods like this across the nation with gang activity and drugs. And then to see more lots than houses over here, and wondering, why is that occurring? And remembering what Oakland Avenue used to look like when Tasty Freeze and Henderson's Chicken Shack was there, and Comrade was a physician there, and the t-shirt shop in the little strip center. I remember what all of this looked like when the Watts, Nathaniel and Steven were there, and Miss Shack's barbecue. And because I'm seriously dating myself here, but I'm saying that to say, then you have the Dallas Black Chambers building become an eyesore. And now we're celebrating that, I guess, is being demolished. I haven't teamed off for mayor and I haven't gone by there yet to see, you know, what is standing is. No, we ran by there last night. It bricks, holes, like.
See, what you have here is the help that the city gets in trying to revitalize our neighborhoods is in large part dictated by the real estate council, found what they want to do to help Jack Matthews on the west end there by Lamar and Fair Park First. Now, no problem with all that.
Right.
The problem comes when we, the current residents, you don't reach out to us. So
right.
we have to begin to say, wait a minute, what about us? Okay.
Yes.
And so you do all this stuff to create all this money for Fair Park. And right across the street on Fitzhugh, you've done very little to make that more attractive or build up the home ownership or the neighborhood. And yet there's an elementary school there and you want to build a house and not deal with all the crime and drugs and everything. And what I've been saying, and I say this very strongly every time I get a chance, policing and criminalizing everything is not the answer, okay? Mm-hmm. We need to do something different. And that's what I was saying to Shannon about the PID.
Okay.
We don't need more police. We need peer people from the neighborhood walking the streets, directing all these homeless people and mentally ill people to resources in the neighborhood. Because we have them, they just aren't used, and we want to call the cops all the time.
Right.
And they don't want to come because it's, you know, they're gonna be called on somebody, you know, out here naked 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's not for them. They don't want to deal with that. See, so it's how we use the resources we have. And that's what I've been saying to Councilman Casey Thomas, who chairs this racial equities committee, that you have to do things a little different. We can't go back to the resources we gain and giving them more money, because more money has never been the answer. If you're not willing to try something different in our neighborhood with peer people, people from the neighborhood, right? And you know, you can pay a cop, police officer all this money, but you probably can hire 2 peer people for that same salary and benefits that will do more good to help us get our people off the streets into the right resources than that police officer.
Right. And you know, you bring up a really great point, because I remember, you know, the interviews that were had for city manager. Yeah. And how, you know, TC Broadnax talked about, you know, incentivizing, you know, business owners to come south of 30, because he could see the disparity and the divide between North and South Dallas. Yeah. And so still, yet we don't see it. Yeah. Privatizing the Fair Park, which Team Dog for Mayor loves to run free through. But at the same time, check out her TikTok, because, you know, we made the videos and I've pointed out, oh, you know, some of the buildings have got new paint, fresh paint, but it's still not, you know, this welcoming park. Yeah. I bust up in there because I'm me. I'm gonna do that. We're gonna go and run through there and be us, and I'm gonna encourage her to jump into the reflective pools and be wild Ridgeback dog that she is. Yeah. But at the same time, this past November, there was an item on the ballot for an increased hotel tax to pay for Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center and Fair Park. And I'm like, hello, Biederman Group. You guys want to hand Fair Park first, and give it to Walt Human, then give it to Monty. Yeah. So why are you guys out here having these measures put on the ballot when y'all supposed to be getting on the stripper pole and making them dollars work? Because that was the whole point of privatizing the park, so you could improve the structures there. So us not having to pay for bond money to go to the fair park, and increase the activity going on. And
Well, there's another one coming though, Sydney. The one of the things that Ryan Llewellyn prides himself on is his ability to go to the state legislature to get money. And okay, that's your strength.
right,
But where is that money impacting the neighborhood in a good way?
right.
See, yeah, see, that's what I'm keep coming back to, is the integration of their efforts into improving the neighborhood. They're just not there beyond that part. And like you just said, all this stuff was done with the hope that we would see something different than this here. But if we're seeing the same old, when do we stop? How do we hold our own selves accountable? See, we just can't sit back and let this continue to go. And there's
See,
one
that
right
was
now.
one point that we brought up in our meeting, is
Yeah.
that the whole mindset behind all of this is that you won't say anything. You'll just keep being a good little boy, good little girl, pay your little taxes.
Yeah.
We keep putting that broomstick further and further up your spine.
Yeah.
You'll notice. And you won't see the fruits of the labor because we pocketing the money. And I'm gonna say, this is what the optics look like. We're pocketing the money, and later, once we have finally gotten the last of y'all out, then it will become this, because the whole presentations for privatizing the fair park was to put tenants in those buildings so they're not empty. And I've told people countless of times, there's stuff going on at the fair park. Music hall is busy. African American Museum has its activities.
Yeah.
The restaurant is there. There's stuff that goes on at the Hall of State.
Yeah.
But the whole selling point on privatizing this mess, and I don't like PPPs, because it just looks like a free check for a private entity to get public funds to do absolutely nothing except pay themselves. And here we go, having business as usual from white metropolis, from the accommodation. It's 2023 and we're still seeing this. So to talk about, the PID and wanting to renew it, wanting to expand it. And for those of y'all who are not familiar, the PID runs until December 31st of this year. So something is going to have to be done, because now, and this is pretty typical, I've been getting this money from you. I want to keep collecting this money. I'm not trying to let it go. I don't care how small it is or whatever. I still want this money coming in. And so residents all across Dallas, y'all need to pay attention to this, because you may have a successful PID in your area, but I'm sure if you do a little bit digging in your own PID, you may find some things that you're not happy with that's going on. And so for those of us in the 75215 and surrounding area, we are going to have to start showing up at these city council meetings.
Well, I think
know about the outrage. Yes.
Yeah, I think, Cindy, I concur 100% with everything you just said. But I take it one step further.
Yes.
We've been able to block this expansion and renewal. All right. And we should immediately put our position out there as best we can as to what we want. Now, the council member has said that he's going to spend all the 23 working with the community to come up with some ideas for a better PID. And that's all well and good. But it's the residents of South Dallas need to come up with their vision. And it may not even include a PID.
Right.
See, but and that's what we're missing. It's one thing to block it, It's another to sit down and bite the bullet and come up with something that we all can be happy with.
Yes.
That's dictated by us, by the residents and the business owners.
Yes.
And that's not missing. I can share with you that the business people along Cullen and JB Jackson, they've done their best to try to build multi-million-dollar projects, 15, 20, $30 million projects, and they have not got the blessing of the city. As a matter of fact, in one meeting, it was so sad because everything said to us by the council member reflected us competing with Fair Park, and we're saying, no, we're not here for Fair Park. We're here for the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah. So why are you making us defer everything to Fair Park? And
Right.
see, but that was the mentality. You just mentioned about the hotel tax increase. See, they had to go to the state to get that. That's not a city thing. That's a state legislator thing. See, and so that's where they've been going. And my point is that we got to get the same action or the same understanding that we got to speak out loud right now, because the PID defeat is not going to be taken lightly.
No.
Because Fair Park first, on the other end, with that, they want to do all this high growth.
Right.
They're going to need that kind of extra protection because they see it in their mind that they need, quote, more police. See, and you and I know that police in and of itself is not the total answer. See, but we would do something else different with that money. Right. But we're not at the table often enough or well represented to say those things.
Right.
And
because it's so interesting that they always want to put more police over here, and I'm like, to do what? To do what? And I say that because I've never been robbed.
Yeah.
Living in South Dallas.
Yeah.
I dated a guy that lived over by the village. Yeah. And I remember spending the weekend with him and getting ready to go to class Monday morning and asking him, did he do something to my car? And it turns out somebody had stolen the battery out of my car and stole my sneakers. And I was like, live in South Dallas, I have left money in my car. Nobody touched my car because it was still that old mentality where you watch out for your neighbor and you watch out for your neighbor.
Well, Sydney, what's at play here is the inequality or the inequity that has allowed for the marginalization of our communities. I can take you anywhere in South Dallas and show you where just drugs and criminal activity has been going on for 30, 40 years. Everybody knows it, but yet nothing's been done. But they use it as an excuse to come in to clean up. This whole thing about receivership, where they bring in someone to take over a property and because they took it away from the owners where all the drug stuff goes. Yeah. Well, that people say, oh, you're doing a great thing. And I'm involved in a situation right now, and the PID's involved, where they're using the powers of the community prosecutor to go after a property owner who's guilty of all this wrongdoing. I don't deny that. Drugs, prostitution, all that kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been going on for 30 years, and why all of a sudden you want to? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the problem is they want to take the property from this owner. See, and I'm saying, well, you're not doing it for the property. You're doing it for the big boys that come in because we're right next to.
Get it for pennies on the dollar. And so we all know who is one of the major property owners in South Dallas, and has quite a few properties that they rent out. And one of the properties that they own was across the street from Charles Rice, and was completely dilapidated and all kinds of stuff. And so, when you have people who had origins back when the Jewish community was over here, and they have so many properties that are subpar and renting out to people
Yeah.
and then saying, oh, well, these people should feel fortunate. Well, I know you didn't just say we should feel fortunate and I'm having to live with black mold, or, I got extension cords because, you're not trying
Yeah.
to let the wiring and whatnot, and probably still
Yeah.
have knob and tube, and you just like run the risk on you catching on fire. And so people really, need to understand that, one, the troops are regrouping on this effort to
Yeah.
get this expansion and renewal done.
Yeah.
And so living over here, be it you're a property owner, be it you are a resident, even if you rent, it's still going to impact you because the property owner is going to
Pass it
push
on.
that cost
Yeah.
onto you as a renter, even if it is a measly little let's say it's just $500 a month.
Yeah.
And your rent is $1,000. They still gonna jack it up.
Yeah.
You'll be
Yeah.
paying $1,200 a month, even though the tax is only $500. Okay, so just understand that you have power,
Yeah.
and that we need to coalesce and make our voices known, because gosh, to 14-1.
Yeah.
14-1 got us at the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we don't participate with making sure that we're at that table and we eating, or we're at that table flipping that sucker over because it's not giving us what we need. But yet you still in our pockets, taking out.
Well, see, I give a lot of credit to Reverend Al Green. I thought he did an outstanding job of coming up with a plan and executing it. And that's what got me, was the execution.
Yes.
And because we were up and running in within a week.
Yes.
And, yeah, and we had touched all the right places and everything. And so my hope and what I work for is to try to continue that with the meetings with the council member, the meeting with other neighborhood association leaders prior to that, to try to come up with some kind of common vision.
Yes.
But then, I don't know, my background is in city planning and community building. And I just think this is an outstanding opportunity, because the whole premise of the city right now is based on, quote, equity.
Right.
So now is the time for us to be in their face saying, what are you doing about equity?
Deliver on this equity.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So that gives more weight to our arguments for change.
Right.
But if we don't put that pressure on them, then they're going same old, same old.
Nothing is going to happen. And so I want to read what Miriam Fields wrote, because she says, I'm outraged. Bond money that's been earmarked for Joppa still has not occurred. Streets, underdeveloped houses looking like third world countries, but our taxes are as high as Jeffrey the giraffe. The bond was passed 4 years ago and constantly being put off. The city saying that they have limited funds to restore the homes, but you've already qualified for the program. And so it's like this same narrative that keeps occurring over and over again. But at the same time, and I say the civil rights, I'm gonna blame it on the civil rights movement. We got comfortable.
Yeah.
We got comfortable.
Yeah.
We thought with the passage of the Civil Rights Act that equality was going to follow.
Yeah.
Well, white supremacy don't operate in that space. So if I've always had power and control, I'm gonna finagle the game. I'm gonna breadcrumb you. I'm gonna make you feel like you've made some strides, some achievements. But when you step back and take that drone and do that look and see what hasn't occurred and how you're still living, don't just be outraged.
Well, part of the problem,
About it.
part of the problem I see because I do my best to go out of my way to help young people, young professionals.
Yes.
But one of the problems that's most evident is their link to just 2 generations ago and the discrimination that was so visible in America. They don't have any connection to that. And they're living their life in a totally different way than I live, which is a sign of progress. But the sad part about it is they don't have a connect to all that went before them. And you see that time and time again. In my neighborhood, we got Airbnb stuff, and the young folks see that as cool. No, I mean, this is a neighborhood, our tax.
Exactly. I can't understand because for the November election, I was out block walking, and to see that many Airbnb. I get it's a historic neighborhood. I get it's close to Fair Park, but at the same time, you have people in and out that don't care about the neighborhood. And to know that, I mean, I am for South Boulevard, Park Row. Some of the houses there still have the service quarters. Yeah. And I'm all for, making a mother-in-law suite, whatever you want to call it, and renting it out to offset part of your mortgage, those types of things, to get more people living into a neighborhood that care about it, that want to see, progress and change that reflects what they want and their values. And then you have, people coming in and renting for, days, weeks, whatever the rentals are. I stayed at the Hilton on 75 and Northwest Highway. I didn't care about that place.
Well,
we went to hang out, do our thing. That's what, hotel people do. They don't care. They just
Sydney, here, you got to look at it this way too. Because I see the young people walking the sidewalk with their kids and everything, and that is a neighborhood feel. Okay. Yes. But that's the first step. Then you have to ask yourself, how many of them go to Park South Y? How many of them go to the library? How many of them go to the rec center? See, that's the neighborhood stuff. And so we have to begin to encourage that neighborhood participation. And again, that was one of the things they were counting on the PID to do. And it was so one-sided, but that's why I'm trying to say the way we do things has got to change. We got to put stuff together. Everything is siloed by the city services. They don't talk to one another. They don't come in together. And we as residents have got to say under this inequity stuff that's got to stop, because the problems we face are multifaceted, and you need all this here joint cooperation that you can sell to the residents. The residents can feel that. See, right. When you do one-on-one or just the homeless by itself or the police by itself, that's not going to get it. See, and I think that the initiative by Reverend Green gives us an opportunity to at least put that on the table to see if we can have that kind of movement going forward in response to this PID decision.
Yeah, it's just, I would not anticipate that a PID would be so powerful to turn everything around on a dime. Yeah. And to say that's a selling feature to get me to pay into it is ludicrous, because, I want outcome measures. Yes. I want to see where these dollars are going. And I know part of the discussions that we've been having about this has been, who are the members of the PID? Because it has to have a body who is going to be approving where these dollars are being spent, what projects are going to be agreed upon and done. And we're having challenges with getting that information. Yeah. And once again, 2016 is 2023. This is 7 years. And I am always of the mindset, show me the money. Where's the money? one, how much has been collected, two, what projects have been done, because yeah, there may be some projects that have been done that we visibly can't see. It's not new lights, it's not signage, it could be, sewer maintenance and those types of things. Show me where it's going, because then I am more apt to say, hey, yeah, we need to keep funding this, but let's have some more transparency. Let's have, more community engagement, to say, okay, you've done this, or this is going to be phase one. And it's going to be all of this infrastructure work that's going to be done. That's not bells and whistles. It's going to look pretty and you're not going to see it. But we got to get this done first before we move into phase two, where you're going to start seeing more of the dollars being spent in a visible fashion. And so since that kind of transparency isn't there, I mean, it's hard to trust. Expanding this. No. I pay enough taxes. You don't raise my rates and bond elections and this and the other, and I don't see nothing.
Well, see, but everything you said is so true. But look how simple that is. All you had to do was come out here and just tell us what you were doing and what you're spending it on. And you never did that. And then all of a sudden you want to come talking about expanding it. And here's the sad part about it. The city sent me a draft of the expansion that Shannon had submitted to them. A week later, they sent out the formal petition for people to start signing, and the boundaries were totally different. See, so they didn't even get a chance to go out to talk to those new areas of expansion about being in there. Who would ever do something that crazy if you didn't have if you had the people's intention at heart? You would never do that.
No, you wouldn't.
The history of that PID administration has been so poor, and people wanted to personalize it and say, well, Shannon's is passionate. Yeah, she is, but come on now, we're not talking about passionate. We're talking about taking care of business. Exactly. And if you can't take care of business, you got to get out. You got to go.
Right. And so I do want to share with people, because I did put the link. So this is the, these are the projected numbers. As you can see, we have 2023, 24, 25, 26, 27. Should this PID continue? And so the assessments, the surplus, and then where the majority of the money is going to be going, and almost half of it is on public safety. And so for me, when I see that, you're painting the picture that, oh my, clutch my pearls, I can't go and walk my dog through the neighborhood or walk to Big Daddy's or whatever convenience stores around, or the church, without getting mugged.
Yeah.
And to say, I lived over here pretty much my entire life, minus grad school. Never had a worry about being robbed until I lived on the north side of town. So to say that almost half of the money is going to be going to public safety is, and I'm not saying public safety is just strictly police costs. Public safety does include more than that, but you're giving a little over a fourth of the budget to improvements.
The tragedy is that let's take the numbers being okay. We'd be okay if that came through a process of engagement with the target area population. It didn't. Right. That's all Shannon. That's all Shannon and talk with the city. The city was just as guilty about sitting down to help her do that stuff. See, but they knew they were wrong because they let me know that they could, that the PID people could be doing better.
Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, and as you can see here from the legend here, public safety, courtesy patrol vehicles, safety related services. again, makes it sound like you walk out your front door, you're gonna get robbed, mugged, killed, stabbed, whatever. And then lighting, landscaping, sidewalks, streets, parks, fountains, roadways, that again, 27% based on this hit. And I do want to go back to when you guys were approached about this, and I'm sure that the selling feature was not, oh, we're going to get more police and more surveillance over here. The improvements, the promotion, I'm sure was the selling feature to bring in more commerce, more traffic to the area. So as a business owner, you can make more money.
Yeah. Well, the perception still needs to be challenged even today, more so today than when we started out, because the city has allowed all this situation with people on the street to get worse. And
Right.
And I mean, I live on Park Road, South Boulevard neighborhood. We don't go over there on Martin Luther King. I mean, excuse me, on our way to those strip shopping centers that much, and it's because of the perception. And but so to me, we have to begin to see the neighborhood as a whole and do those kind of things that make it a neighborhood again. We can't let them continue to
Dictate.
run people out and attack this house and board it up and get rid of it, tear it down, and next thing you know, it's all vacant and they're selling it to somebody to come in and doesn't look like us and doesn't want to do anything for us. They want to cater to the broader gain at Fair Park.
Yeah.
See, so
and I will tell you something. It's so funny because my son calls the new housing that's being built Minecraft houses.
yeah.
They don't fit into the character of what South Dallas was.
Yeah.
And I'm all for new architecture, upgrading things, all that kind of stuff. But again, as you pointed out, we're not at the table expressing our concerns. I remember one developer, talking to me about, the type of houses that he wanted to build. And I was like, people over here don't want that mess. I'm sorry. I'm sure those would be lovely structures, but does not fit into the character of what is here. Because it was a bedroom community. We have businesses. Once again, I'm gonna date myself, Metropolitan, the Cozy Inn. I remember going with my grandparents to these places. I was Lil Walker's grandbaby. I remember, the Burger Place that used to be on the corner. I remember at the dead end of Metropolitan when getting to Oakland Avenue, there used to be a store right there. Breeze record shop, all of those things. And gosh, it was a fun time because it made me feel like I lived in part of a community.
That's the key. That's the key. See, I don't think there's enough focus from and I guess that's my gripe with the young professionals. Their sense of community, or not community, their sense of heritage in the community is not as strong as ours. And that's where the tension is. Because if they saw the way we see it, they wouldn't be going along with a lot of this stuff, but they go along with it because it's an opportunity for them to be a player in a game that they want to play. And I can't fault that, but I can still fight for what I believe in. And that's where the rub is right now, because they keep putting all these people on these committees with no formal background, no professional training. And all they can do is say, yeah, when something comes before them, because they don't know the difference.
Right.
Yeah. And
Hank, I will tell you, growing up over here, and I was having a conversation with Anja Sanders,
Yeah.
and you know, saying how I have had current politicians sit up here and lie to me on the phone about stuff. Oh, I'm gonna support you, boo woo woo. Then it comes time to, the election happening.
Yeah.
Oh, let's stick with continuity.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
current players in place. Yeah. So, and I had to explain that I am not seen as a player on paper. I'm
Yeah.
what they want on
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah.
And that's where it begins and that's
Yeah.
where it ends. Because I will sit up here and be in your face and I will call you out. And so I know that I'm that troublemaker. I know that and I don't care,
Yeah.
because the thing is that you're not doing right.
Yeah.
And I love Eva because she chimed in on my personal page on Facebook, and to see how we continue to get left out. And I remember TC coming on board and saying, don't be having these meetings and not including the public, the residents, because we're tired of being left out. Tired of finding out after the fact a meeting has happened, or you find out like literally the day of, and you have kids, you can't just drop everything in order to attend. And I know that's done on purpose because you don't want to hear from people like myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna sit up here and I'm gonna tell you, you wrong. You're not doing what you claim you were gonna do, and show me what you have done. And so
we need more of that though, Cindy. And see, that's why I really feel blessed. I had a meeting on November 15th with the property owners along JB Jackson and Trump. And after the meeting, I let my friends know that was one of the most powerful meetings I've been in since I've been here in Dallas. And they couldn't understand it. And they said, well, what went down? What happened? I said, it wasn't so much what happened on the agenda. It was that almost every major landowner along that corridor was in that meeting, and they all said, man, please keep this up. I will give money, but we want to fight. We want to fight back. And that's the first time I had that. See, but that's what I believe I was trying to convey to Reverend Al Green, that we might be at the right place at the right time.
Hopefully so.
Have that kind of response. And I get excited just thinking about the potential that's in front of us now, all behind this PID action.
And that is the beautiful thing, and has always, and that was part of the motivation with starting Coffee and Politics, was to let people know, what's going on in your neighborhood. You want to sit up here and make sure you participate in electing the president. Well, show up and show out to elect your city council person.
Yes.
That's the one who's going to impact you the most. Make sure you show up and show out for your state representative, your state senator, your county commissioner. Like, just stop going along with the bandwagon, stop going along with, what things were done in the past, because, we are here today because of inaction, because of go along, get along, because of being part of the clique. So you're benefiting, but you are so short-sighted. You think about short money versus long money, and I'm all about long money.
No, but I do. I had that conversation with Reverend Green at our meeting Monday night, that if anything, voter turnout should be one of the biggest issues we push going forward, that we need to double down on creating the network that gives us far greater turnout. It's imperative. The world is changing too fast for us not to do that. So,
I know. So, the filing deadline is coming up February 17th, I believe, for city council candidates. So I do have a group. We will be getting together. So Hank, I will be calling you. I have a couple of people in Buckner Terrace. We're definitely going to be at the table discussing these candidates because, you know, District 7, and I've said this plenty of times, District 7 is the joke district at City Hall. I don't care who has been, you know, here as the council person. It's
That's
the
true.
joke. I mean, Don Hill, Dwayne Caraway, we have had, you know, such a stain on us with being in elected positions and participating in corruption.
Yeah.
So we are at a point now that either we're gonna flip this table or we're gonna shut up, because we can't just keep letting things happen to us.
That's so very true. So true.
So, you know, it will be coming up, and it will be time for us to pull the lever on who is going to be representing us. And this is across the city. You know, and if you're in a district where you're safe, your council person is doing all the things that you need, but then come to those districts that want to see change at the Horseshoe and help them, you know, get the candidate that they want in office. So when it's time to make these decisions at City Hall, we are doing things that are moving the entire city forward, not just your little district up in North Dallas, because y'all are getting all the things that you want. Hank, I told you this hour would fly by. I can reintroduce you at 10:20 and 10:40. Because just so engrossed in this conversation and the importance of understanding, one, how our city government works and how our city government works on us and how we need to work on it and be in the driver's seat, not in the sidecar, not in the back seat, not in the trunk, not pulling up to the bumper and trying to hold on. No, we need to be directing these activities, directing the efforts, directing where the money goes. So Hank, thank you so much for coming on the show and having this discussion, because it's people should be outraged.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And,
yeah. So, you know, again, people, you know, more discussions will be coming on the show. Stay informed on what is happening with your politicians that are closest to your front and back door. Hold people accountable. And
I just hope we take advantage of this whole conversation about racial equity. I just think that's the cover we need. Yes.
So I am working on having other city council members from other cities in Dallas County to come on the show and talk about things that are going on. But people, you know, this is the perfect time for engagement.
Oh God,
we are there for it. So again, Hank, thank you so much for coming on the show and discussing this topic, because it was something that was very much needed, and people need to be aware of what's going on in the city. Stop letting the city do things without holding them accountable, because, you know, if we all stop paying our property taxes, then they're going to have to start paying attention, because they're going to be like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
See, I'm about making that kind of trouble. So. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Life is too short. Put time, effort, and love into the people that mean the most to you. Again, Hank, thank you so much. And I look forward to our next steps with this process and making this PID what we, the residents of South Dallas, want it to be.
Exactly.
Someone else dictated. Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show and discussing this topic.
All right. Thank you so much.